After rereading the Fazbear's Fright series, I thought back on how Eleanor plays in the story, and how her being might have come into form, as well as how this could factor in later on in Security Breach and its DLC. During the series, we learned much about Eleanor as a whole, with the series showing us that the being that is Eleanor is nothing more than a formless entity that constantly feeds on the suffering and pain of others, wanting to cause nothing but death and chaos to everyone around it. It takes various forms throughout the stories, with some examples being Shadow Bonnie, Blackbird, Into the Pit Spring Bonnie, and possibly Eve Ralpho. We know that she has a connection to William Athens as a whole, with her being within him during the events of the Man in Room 1280, and helping him create the miscreation after his escape from the Stitch Race, before ultimately letting him die after sucking the negative energy out of the various animatronics within the miscreation malformed body. Lastly, we know that Eleanor seems to favor the form of Circus Baby, as even though the entity can seemingly take whatever form it desires, it always goes back to its baby form, even when its true form is being shown during its final confrontation with Larson and Jake. With what we see about Eleanor and her physical form as a whole, we can assume that her birth can be attributed to William Athens in some way, shape, or form, with all the murders, death, tragedy, and suffering caused by the man either luring in the evil entity or directly creating it. Either way, the entity will latch onto and feed off of the misery that Athens creates, to its eventual demise in Pizzeria Simulator, and its explosion in the Fazbear Entertainment Distribution Center, upon which it will be released. It will take the form of Eleanor, possibly due to Athens' relationship with both Elizabeth and Circus Baby. It could be possible that instead of the entity latching on to Athens and making its presence known after his death in FNAF 6, it could be possible that the entity could have latched onto Athens and stayed within him even after his death in Pizzeria Simulator, going on long after his arrival in the Freddy Fazbear Mega Pizzaplex, and his consciousness being put within his new physical form of Burn Trap. After the fire that seemed to have burned down, or at the very least left the Pizzaplex in a state of ruin, Athens could have been taken to the in-game universe of Hercules Hospital, which could exist due to what we see in the Ultimate Guide, and goes into an interesting idea I have later, at which point the entity would leave him and possibly take the body of the baby that we see in Circus Baby's Furious Rage, birthing Eleanor into the gameverse.